Hey there, friends. Welcome to Enthusiastic Encouragement and Dubious Advice, the podcast for folks who would rather curl into the fetal position than lean in. I'm your host, Patricia Tuttle.
And I promise to continue surviving for the lulz. I'm Nicole Tuttle. We are recording this show on January 31st, 2025.
Ooh, so we had recorded our previous show on January 17th. When I woke up on the 19th, I had the thought that this is the last normal day for a while, and a lot has happened since then, and we'll get to that, but we want to start off today's show with a couple of good things.
So at the top of the list, we want to thank Apple Podcast user Drasco for their written review and 5 stars in Apple Podcasts.
As always, it was a review that made me cry because they referred to our show as a hug, and I don't know, both my parents are huggers, and I'm also a hugger. So it is one of the best compliments.
Also, we don't get notified when they come in, so we just have to check for them before a show, and it's always a pleasant surprise, and like that's underselling it. It's always a really great surprise when we log in and there's a new written review from someone who just poured a little love onto us.
Yeah, A+. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Also, if you all can believe it, it's Black History Month. Happy Black History Month.
Hey, happy Black History Month.
It is hard to remember at this time anything else going on, but yes, it is Black History Month, and I have subscribed to, I think there's a 28 Days of Black History newsletter, so I will start getting that in my email.
Ooh, I should sign up for that too.
Yeah. Also, I have just passed 6 years of the Enthusiastic Encouragement and Dubious Advice newsletter.
Does that mean your newsletter is ready for first grade?
First grade. My newsletter is learning how to read.
Aww. I can't believe it's been 6 years.
I know, 6 years. Well, I started it right before the pandemic. I started it in January 2020.
That's right. You started it and then
everything went to heck.
Man.
All of a sudden, everything just kind of changed directions. But yeah, 6 years. And the other fun thing we want to share is that recently we went to the preview day of the Oakland Museum of California White Elephant Sale, which is a massive kind of like antique rummage, not everything is antique, but like rummage sale in a warehouse, and a bunch of people throughout the year donate their stuff. Sometimes people leave their whole estates, and they have like 1,000 volunteers. They count every game piece. They check and see if the sewing machines they're selling are working. Everything is clean. And like I said, it's in a giant warehouse. And the preview day tickets are kind of expensive. We got there 45 minutes early. It opened at 10. I thought we were getting there early.
The line was like 3 blocks long at least.
At least. There were people there who got there at like 3 a.m. apparently and just camped out.
Yeah.
I've been before, but I haven't been in many years. At least the preview day, it's not really for amateurs. I want to say, like, you have to go in and you have to know what you have in mind and what you're doing. When you go in, my first recommendation is there is a sign up front that tells you the layout of the warehouse because everything is in sections. So snap a picture with your phone and then figure out what you're looking for specifically, what section it would be in.
Because what you pick out in one section has to be purchased in that section.
Exactly.
So if you want like art or photography stuff, you have to buy it in the art and photography section. You can't take it over to books and buy it in books.
Right. And so in my mind, I had envisioned a typewriter. I wanted a typewriter. I wanted specifically a green typewriter.
You said that to me like 2 days before. You're like, I I think I want a green typewriter.
So we went in, we snapped a picture. We're like, okay, that's where stationery is. I went over, I saw the typewriters, which were in their cases, which I don't think a lot of people recognize what a typewriter in its case looks like, because I also wanted it with its matching case.
Yes.
And I was looking at one and you picked up another one. You're like, how about this one? And it's perfect. But then I carried around like this 10-pound typewriter for the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
Because like there's nowhere to set your stuff down. You just carry it around with you.
Yeah. You carried the typewriter. I carried like a bag of like 6 empty frames. And then we both carried like 10 pounds of books.
Yeah, it was bananas, but I'm so glad we did it. It was so much fun. And it's still going if you're in the Bay Area, although people come from all over to go to this sale.
Yeah. And the thing is, this sale benefits the Oakland Museum of California, and this keeps the museum running for the rest of the year.
They made about $2.5 million from the sale last year, one of the volunteers told us.
Yeah.
And also, so much stuff gets donated. There's a second warehouse of stuff. They bring out new stuff every day. Like it's open to the general public now. I think tickets are $7 or something like that. But there's always new stuff. So don't think because you didn't go on the first day that there's not good stuff.
Yeah, it's great. And also, I think this is an important reminder that like, while things are happening that are not great and really hurt us in our hearts and souls, to continue doing things that are fun and bring you joy.
Yeah.
Because you need that. You need that to survive.
This is a load-bearing typewriter, I will tell you that.
Reminder that we have a Patreon that supports this show. It's what keeps us going without ads. And we would love it if people could head over to patreon.com/EEDApod and come hang out with us there. Do have some posts that go out occasionally that are free. But we also have some additional content and posts and interaction for friends of the podcast that sign up at the paid levels.
And also, if you go to eatapod.com, there's a link to our bookshop affiliate site, and you can shop any books we mentioned and also some other books at our bookshop affiliate site, and that also helps send a few bucks our way to keep the show going. So, we are recording this on January 31st. If things were absolute clown shoes, I would have loved to have done a monthly goal check-in, but I'll tell you what, I have not been thinking about my 2025 goals, or rather they have changed a lot. And right now I'm really just kind of consumed by the horrors. The horrors are horrifying. I'm sure I'm feeling many, many things right now, but rage and disappointment are at the forefront.
I am personally feeling like deeply, deeply sad for all of the people that are already being hurt, and knowing that a lot more people are going to be hurt. And I'm also, I don't know, kind of feeling that whole like, that's my secret, Cap. I'm always angry. Like, I am angry at the world right now, and sometimes that's the fire that keeps me going and helps me do what we do sometimes.
Yeah. I know that many people are panicking right now, and that's legit. That is completely understandable. That is an understandable reaction to what is going on right now. And we're not going to sit here and tell you not to panic, because all of this is very panic worthy. Also, when someone is panicking, it literally never helps to tell them to just stop.
The thing is, like, the panicking, I don't want to say it's the whole point, but it's one of the tactics, right? The overwhelm is part of the tactics, causing confusion and uncertainty and triggering some kind of freeze response or whatever. Like, these are all tactics they're using to try to overwhelm us. Because when we are doing these things, when we are panicking or freezing or feeling overwhelmed, we are not thinking clearly and able to act in solidarity with one another. One of the things we learned back in part 1, episode 1,
oh my gosh,
is that many of us burned ourselves out really fast trying to stay hyper vigilant and hyper reactive to every single thing that this administration says and does. The thing is, they don't care whether or not they are wrong or hypocrites, or if they say one thing one day and the opposite the next. They don't care about any of that. They are going to say and do whatever they can as long as they have power and to stay in power. It's not about being right. It's not about being correct. It's about staying in power and then using that power to make money.
Yeah, you're reminding me a lot of was a pit I would fall into a lot is like, oh, they just don't have the information, or we'll fight this with science, and they just don't care.
They really don't. They don't care about the science. They don't care that suddenly, because of that executive order, tee-hee, they made everybody a woman legally. They don't care.
It is also incredibly easy to isolate right now. I'm making a concerted effort to reach out to loved ones. Even if I don't know exactly what to say, I text, hey, everything is garbage. I'm sorry this country is failing us, and I don't really know what to say, but I want you to know that I love you. This is responding to grief or harm 101. Silence is the worst thing you can do. Please reach out to each other.
You mentioned grief as being a part of this. Can you say more about that?
Yeah, I have been talking with a lot of my friends, especially my trans friends, and how absolutely bonkers it feels to just be out on errands or be at our day jobs and everything is business as usual. And I'm like, how are we not all screaming right now? How are we not all absolutely feral with rage? I mentioned that to my therapist and she said, that's grief. When you lose someone, you feel like the world is ending and it's bananas to you that other people are still going and just waltzing along.
And I think it's important to recognize that those people, they may be grieving too. Like different people grieve in different ways, and we need to be cognizant of that.
Yeah, I know. My family very much tells jokes. We're very much like, why have feelings when I can have jokes?
That's
you've met my family.
I've met your family. That's also a popular pastime in our household.
Absolutely.
Other people may grieve with anger and not have any other way to express those feelings other than through anger. Some people grieve through distraction. This is partly how we found ourselves with the term doom scrolling, I think.
Yeah, or like how some people are really happy to be working right now.
Yeah.
Because they have something to focus on.
Yeah. Some people dissociate, just step out of themselves for a bit.
Some of you are going to laugh, but I've been known to hide in a book here and there.
Oh no. I only read like 100 of them last year.
Right.
And then there's one of my favorites, which is problem solving.
Yeah, that's another favorite pastime in this household. Let's skip the processing and find solutions.
Yeah.
And then we could do something.
Yeah. I would like to move and do things and not sit and cry sometimes. But sitting and crying has also been really helpful.
That too. I also think that some people haven't quite embodied that they should also be grieving right now.
Everything feels really out of control. And like, what are we supposed to be doing right now? And here's our suggestions on this. And this is, if you're on the Patreon, you've seen a sneak preview of my thoughts on this, but start with the basics. Are you taking your meds? Are you eating? Are you staying hydrated? Are you bathing? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you moving your body? Are you getting sunlight?
I'll tell you, the week of the 20th was really hard around these things. My appetite was terrible, and honestly, I should have showered more. Things are hard enough as it is, and we have to remember we don't have to make things even harder on ourselves.
I don't understand. No, really, that week, I tried to be really patient with myself. Once I recognized, how I was feeling with it and what was going on, it was one of those, oh, I'm having a reaction to what is happening. And, things moved fast, so it took a while to figure that out. And it took a little while to adjust and accept that, this is the world we're living in now. I did not eat well that week. Not to say I'm eating better now. I'm trying. But, I forgot to eat lunch today. Last week, I didn't move my body much. I really didn't. I slept poorly and worked a lot. But, I've recognized that. And this week, I've been trying to make a really concerted effort to try to be better with myself. And the way I'm kind of motivating myself with this is that I need to take care of myself in ways that'll make it easier for me to then in turn be able to help others when needed.
Yeah. Other things we all should be doing right now is being very conscious about our activities online, our privacy, our web searches. Maybe we use certain platforms to share information, but not disclose activities. You already know what platforms we're talking about if you know who was front and center at the inauguration. This is also referring to what you're talking about over text. And I know I sound real tinfoil hatty right now, but I recommend Signal for secure end-to-end encrypted messaging. Signal is an app. We'll link it in the show notes.
I don't think you're being real tinfoil hatty on this. The federal government, right before the inauguration, said everyone should switch to a secure end-to-end encrypted messaging platform and stopped using text messages.
Okay, fair. Fair, yeah.
That was literally an announcement for everybody.
Yeah, okay.
A word on jumping off all social media. On one hand, heck those guys. But on the other hand, they want us to abandon the strong online communities we've all cultivated. It's worth examining if you're leaving something toxic or if you're abandoning something powerful. It's still important to cultivate community online because online spaces can be more accessible to certain folks, like some disabled folks, parents of small children, caretakers, or rural marginalized folks.
I've been finding more Patreons and newsletters I can subscribe to because there are some people whose content I find incredibly valuable, but the algorithm suppresses them. Unless they're on Substack, I'll subscribe there for free, but I'm not handing money over to the Substack Nazi machine. I moved to Button Down. They're not paying me to say this, but they helped me move everything. It's been a dream. So if you are on Substack and you want to move, reach out to me and I can give you some tips.
Yeah, it's worked out really well.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, social media and content creators and what's going on out there, it's important to continue to name what we are seeing and hearing and continuing to name and see these things. Yes, you know who did the you know what arm gesture. And yes, it is exactly that. No matter what anyone else is saying. Yes, books are being banned. Yes, ICE is continuing raids and people who are citizens are getting swept up in them. And yes, trans people are having their documents confiscated when they're trying to update them with the federal government.
If you're looking to fall down an information rabbit hole and maybe learn something new, I suggest looking at the Wikipedia entry for the Overton window and the related things linked in the See Also section. And it kind of gives you some context about the normalization of wild things and why we need to keep naming things.
A note about staying informed. You don't have to stay informed. up to the minute on everything. If you've been trying to do this, you probably already have information fatigue. And go back and see or listen to some of the things we said at the very opening of this about being overwhelmed and panicking and stuff.
Yeah. Hi, my name is the Infophile, and I have information fatigue.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. We haven't done this, but an idea I had is that if you have a group of friends in a group chat or something and you're all overwhelmed by the information, maybe consider everyone taking a subject or a topic to that's what they become knowledgeable about. And then at the end of every day or every few days in the group chat via a short voice note or just some text, I don't know, give an update or an overview, like I said. Part of being in a group and a community is sharing the labor, and this includes the mental load.
Yeah. And even if you are the person for a specific topic, remember, you don't have to be up to the minute on it. You can just check in on the news, like at the end of the day. You don't have to constantly watch the live stream of fire hose awfulness come in. It's not going to do you any good. And I've been finding checking in the late afternoon gets me pretty caught up in 10 minutes.
Yeah. The horrors will be there whether you look at them live and up to the minute or whether you look at them during your lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a similar vein to the working with your group and everyone doing a special, picking a topic or sharing some sort of the mental load. We mentioned this in a past episode, but it might be a good idea to start making that list of skills you have and what you're good at so that you know what you have to offer. And you can not just wait for someone to ask, hey, does anyone know anyone who knows how to do X? But be on the lookout for where your skills might be useful in your community.
And they don't have to just be skills like sewing or cooking or splitting wood or even medical skills, right? This could also mean communication. This could also mean research. This could also be the skill of just being able to get along with people. Maybe trying a person who can mediate really well. A person who's really good with kids.
A person who knows how to, make a weekly schedule in Excel.
Yeah. We've also mentioned, but it's worth sharing again, we are not starting from nothing. We do not need to have all the answers on our own as individuals. There are groups who have been doing this work for years. Check in with these groups and connect with them.
And I know I mentioned this earlier, but please continue to do the things that bring you joy. Hope is essential. And joy is the purpose. Joy gives us the energy to deal with the bad stuff. And don't just do TV watching, but please make art. Continue to make art in whatever form it is you make. Even if you don't consider yourself an artist, whatever the art is that you make, whether it's, combining pressed flowers to make dinosaurs or singing even off key and poorly. Whatever it is you're doing, please continue to do it. Please continue to make art and beauty and put it out into the world.
And also, even if you don't put it out in the world, I think there's something very healing and powerful about the act of creating art.
Oh, sorry. I don't mean sharing it with everyone. I literally mean just bringing it into the world. Whether it exists in your sketchbook or on the clock app.
Yeah.
I don't care. Bring it into existence.
I love that. In the show notes, I've linked the most recent issue of the Enthusiastic Encouragement and Dubious Advice newsletter, where I have some incredibly relevant articles and resources, including resources around knowing your rights in certain situations and how to manage interactions with certain government entities.
As always, this newsletter issue is free and accessible to everyone. Please share it with others.
I do want to address something that I'm hearing from a lot of well-meaning people talking about, knowing rights and certain government entities doing things. A lot of people are like, you don't know how much of the labor force is immigrants, and our food would be bland without immigrants. And I want to put it out there that immigrants are more than their labor or food. Immigrants are people and deserving of rights and safety because they are people. It is very much like the argument for women's rights being based on that's someone's mom or daughter or wife or sister or whatever, when women deserve rights regardless of relations to other people because women are people. Ta-da!
This is bumping up against something that you all have heard me get worked up about before. People have inherent value regardless of their documentation status, their incarceration status, their wealth status, their ability. People have value outside of the labor that they can produce.
And this goes for all of us, including those of you listening right now. We all have value beyond our productivity. Whew. I'm trying to remind myself that things didn't just get like this. It took some time to get here, and it's going to take some time to fight.
I need to highlight this. This is another one of the things you've heard me talk about this before.
Absolutely.
Just at home. What we are seeing right now, this is the United States. This is the United States capitalism machine coming for the rest of us. What many of us are feeling at this time is something that's been going on for, honestly, as long as this country has been a country. It's just always only hurt specific groups of people. And now, finally, it's coming for the rest of us. And unless you are the incredibly ultra wealthy, it will be coming for you.
I'm holding space right now for part of the dedication of a book called Let This Radicalize You, Organizing and the Revolution of Reciprocal Care by Miriam Kaba and Kelly Hayes. And part of the dedication that is really stayed with me says, everything worthwhile is done with other people.
Ooh, I think we should sit with that for a minute. Everything worthwhile is done with other people.
And yeah, someone's going to say, what about books? But you know what? I love to discuss books with other people.
You like it when I read to you.
I do like it when you read to me.
That's books with other people. I just want to say, everything worth doing is done with other people, or everything worthwhile is done with other people. That's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, we just kind of unloaded a lot on our listeners, Patricia.
Yeah, but from conversations I've had, I think we're all kind of feeling it, and I think a lot of it needed to be said.
Yeah. Oh, I don't disagree with you. I'm trying to segue us into what is it that you think people should really take away from this episode when they're done listening? What do you want to make sure sticks with them?
Well, the takeaway I have, we didn't say exactly, but it comes down to this country is not being gentle with most of us. So we have to remember to be gentle with ourselves and each other. How about you, Nicole? What do you want people to take away?
I really want people to know that, if you don't know what to do right now, if you're really unsure, I want you to start with taking care of yourself. Start with yourself. Take care of yourself. It's a long road ahead of us. And we want you to be here to experience the moments of joy with us. So start by taking care of yourself. We mentioned a couple of times, finding that joy and continuing to find that. Patricia, what has been filling your cup lately?
I am rereading.
Re-listening
on audiobook, but audiobooks are reading.
Yes.
To The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, narrated by Robin Miles, who's one of my favorite narrators. So good. And the production value of this book is so good. It's the first book in a duology. I haven't read the second book yet, so I'm rereading the first one so I could read the second one. And the whole book is just kind of like the idea of like parasite, gentrifier trying to take over a place, and every character in the book is like, not on my watch, not on my MFN watch. And like, we don't do that here. And it's just a whole book of that. And I didn't realize how cathartic it would be to listen to this book right now. It's so good. And of course, I'll link it in the show notes. I'll put it in our bookshop. And I rarely reread books because I have so many books to read. But this one is worth it. And on audiobook, definitely.
It is one of my favorite audiobooks for the production value, and the narrator also just does an amazing job with it.
Yeah. Nicole, what's filling your cup right now?
Last night, we went to see Cassie Workman doing her production of Aberdeen. It's a one-woman show she does. She was here in San Francisco for SF Sketchfest. If you get the chance to go see this show, go see it. It's really good, especially if you're a 90s kid or if you remember the legacy of Kurt Cobain. And if that means anything to you, then yeah, this is a show for you. I really recommend it. She does an amazing job with it. Maybe bring some tissues with you.
Yeah, I want to give people a little more, just so you know. It is a one-woman show told in verse.
It's mostly in rhyming couplets.
And it is kind of a fantasy of her going back in time, trying to save Kurt Cobain. And so it is a heavy
It's very
show.
heavy.
It is a heavy show, but she did such a phenomenal job.
Yeah, and all the content warnings that go along with
his legacy
and in particular, how he died.
Yes.
So be warned for that. Also, there were some flashing strobe lights occasionally.
There were some strobe lights, yeah.
Also, though, even if she's not doing that show, if you see she's doing stand-up in your town, please go see her. She's a delight.
Yeah. That show reminded me that every piece of theater I have seen has changed me somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, but going out and going to a show, it was a intimate theater and a relatively small crowd. We got to sit pretty close to the stage, and I think seeing that show in an intimate space like that really also added to it. But yeah, it just, like you said, it changed you in some way. For me, it was just like a really, in some ways, cathartic almost show to be with and to sit with and to exist with. So I doubt she'll hear it, but thank you, Cassie, for coming.
Well, that's our show for today. We'd like to thank our awesome audio editor, Jen Zink. You can find her at loopdeloo.com. We'll leave a link to that in our show notes.
You can find the full show notes and transcript at eedapod.com. That's EEDAPOD.com. There, you can also find a link to our Patreon, our bookshop link, and a link to our ongoing Enthusiastic Encouragement and Dubious Advice newsletter. You can also find us on Instagram and Blue Sky at EEDAPod, and email us at eedapod@gmail.com.
We are nothing if not consistent.
We would also appreciate it so much if you would subscribe and rate us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I think we're also on YouTube. But really, wherever you get your podcasts that allow for ratings, it really helps us out in allowing other people to find us. Again, special thanks to Apple Podcast user Draysco for their written review. We read each and every review that people leave for us, and we appreciate everyone who's posted a review or rated us.
We would also appreciate anyone who can subscribe to us on Patreon. Support is going to help us keep this show going, especially without ads. You can find us at patreon.com/EEDAPod. In the meantime, we hope you find ways to be kind to yourself. Drink some water and read a book. We'll be talking to you soon.
I don't know. Take a deep breath. Thanks, friends.
Thanks, friends.